I'm about half, 3/4 of a mile above the Uncle Dan mine. There's an open adit here. I've been back in this once a long time ago. Looks like I was kind of surprised to see it still open, but it's open. So we're going to go take a look. Well, it's kind of open. Looks like they gated it. Come on, guys. This went back in, 400 feet or so. Yeah, it splits back in there. You know, there's certain things that irritate me. That's one of them. This is a darn shame, because this tunnel was in good shape going back. Minegates.com. Really? Well, they did a good job putting it in. We'll take a peek back there. That goes back in quite a ways, and then it takes a right and it splits. One level drops down. And I'm not sure if this was originally part of the Uncle Dan mine or whether it was a separate deal. But this is a dang shame that this is gated. Well, so much for taking you back in that one. It looks like something the BLM would do. Boo! Okay. We're at another adit here above the Uncle Dan mine. Let's see if this one's gated. Looks like we might be in luck. Now, of course, a big pack rat nest. Kind of loose on some of the ribs, but overall looks pretty good. Hope there's no cougars back here. Whew, pack rats. I have been in this mine once before. Took the kids back here, in fact, my older two. This mine's kind of an odd mine. I've never figured out if this was the main haul tunnel, because there's not much of a tailing pile by this one, but it's a pretty good tunnel going back in. You can see where they carved the rock out for their ties, for their tracks. At first I thought this was dirt in between here, but last time I was here I took a pick to it, and that's solid rock. And why they carved it out I'm not real sure, because the ceilings are 9 feet high through here. There's a bat. These are these old mines can kind of hazardous, not just for rocks falling on your head or collapses. Cougars back in them. I've known 2 different cougars been killed in mines like this. That's one thing I always watch for in these mines now, is any sign of cougars. If I remember right, this splits in a couple spots. So we're leaving their garbage. I've never been back into that part of it. I think, yeah, this was the vein right here that they were following. Could see it going. So this was this looks like a cross cut coming into here. I was going to crawl back there, but I'm a little nervous with that wood there. Whether there's something below that wood or not. And in this part of the country, boy, the sound drastically changed right here. This part of the country, you get near these veins, and the ground is usually extremely fractured, and that's where you're going to have your cave-ins at. Poke our head over this. You know, there's our pack rat right there. That very dull sounding back that way. Trying to decide if I want to go venture down those or not. I think some old drill holes. I think this might come to an end right back here where it's collapsed. That's a huge collapse. That looks like it just goes to there and dead ends. Like I said, you get near these veins, and the rock becomes very unstable. Definitely no airflow back in here. The temperature just drastically changed. Back there in the other part of the tunnel, it was probably 50 degrees. It feels like 60 plus degrees or more back here. Okay. That's where that one ends. I'm assuming this was another vein they were following. If it went any further, it's collapsed now, but I don't think it did. I can't believe the difference in air temperature there. I'm trying to decide if this is worth venturing into. It doesn't look like it. Looks like just a big pack rat hole. Go back and investigate some of these side ones. This might lead back towards the main part of the mine. Oh, I guess the only way to find out is squeeze down in here. Does not look promising. Definitely goes diving off back that way. 20 years ago, I would have been hopping to go check that out. Not so sure right now. Yeah, I can see the end of it right back there. So I'm not going to crawl back there. It just goes back right there and looks like it ends. Now, I don't think this was the main part of the mine at all. I've never found the main opening or shaft or whatever they used at this Uncle Dan mine. I haven't explored this mine a whole lot in the past. I've looked in this at it and the one up above. But I've never adventured up on this hillside above the mine. So let's go look around. It's pretty steep. Fortunate thing is I see them scattered all up through the hillside here, so I can just kind of pick my way up. So I have to walk straight up to that one. So this one appears to be, it's got a little bit of tailing pile down below me here. So it was probably a little adit of some kind. I'd say it maybe went in 100 feet or so. Looks like the critter dug it out a little bit there. Doesn't look like it goes back to an opening. Well, this is starting to look kind of interesting. I'm up above that last little adit. I look like an animal dug out. Okay, it looks like this is a stope up above that adit. I'm assuming that's what that is a stope that's collapsed in. You can see the vein very clearly running up to there. Looks like pretty nice material. Almost looks like there's two separate veins here. But that one is follow right down along that through the country rock and up. Well, let's go see what's above here. Okay, this is that tailing pile I can see from the road down there. And it does lead to an open adit. There's some pretty good cracks going on. Doesn't look too awful bad. You can see right there. Right there is a quartz vein. You can see the stringer of it right up in there. I don't know if that's exactly what they were digging after, or they had a parallel vein they were following. So let's turn the light on. Venture back in here. Yeah, it's a short one. Place to come hide out for the apocalypse. I am not seeing any sign of the vein at all. Maybe a little bit right there. Holy cow! That scared the crud right out of me. Right up near my head. Decent sized pack rat. They're kind of cute. They're sure destructive if you get them around your house, though. Right there's the end. He's like, get out of my house. It's amazing what those things can crawl up. I've had them also crawl up me when I was trying to get them out of a shed. We'll leave you be, buddy. So this goes back, 60 some feet maybe. I almost think they missed the quartz vein. Just come out of that adit. And it's kind of interesting because the veins I encountered coming up the hill run pretty much east-west. The one down in that lower adit, those two veins in there, they run almost north-south. Kind of interesting. Usually around this part of the country, you know, most of the veins run pretty parallel to each other, but evidently not here. Right over there on the top of that ridge, you see two more piles over there, way up on top. Again, don't think I'm getting to those today, but I'm going to walk around this hillside and come down on top of the big tailing piles of the Uncle Dam. Okay, so I'm right above the big tailing pile of the Uncle Dan mine. You can see down there, it's all tailings. That big flat area down there is all tailings. So is this right below me here. There's a big pile of tailings right below me. Hopefully, we can go down here and figure out maybe where these came from. You can see the cement foundation there for a mill. If I thought that was a mill foundation, I would think the mine was up above it here somewhere, the actual tunnel or adit. But there's nothing over there. I walked down over there and I just can't find anything that would indicate that there was an entrance there. In this area out here, there's not a lot of topsoil to collapse in on the portals. So, what do we got here? Why just stumbling around and come across this? So that was either an air shaft or an stope. But the way it's dug, it almost looks like an air tunnel. Let's drop a rock. Right at 5 seconds before I heard it make its last thud down in there. Reach the camera over the edge here. You don't see that every day. Another one down there, I can see him. Boy, you would not want to go trucking down in that. And there's no tailing pile around it at all. So this was dug from below. Okay, this is the tailing pile, or one of them, for the Uncle Dan. I really don't know a whole lot about this mine. I have not found much history on this mine, but you know, you'd think there'd be an opening here somewhere, or a slumped in spot where the shaft was, or something. So I'm here at this foundation. It looks like there might be something right down there. Now there's some more foundations there. there's the concrete. What I thought might be an entrance down here, but I don't know. Kind of almost looks like it was just carved out for the mill. It's pretty hard to tell. Okay, so down here at the very bottom of these tailing piles, and this is the only thing that really looks like an entrance at all. And it really doesn't look like much of that. There's a little moisture. Looks like it's been seeping out of the ground. I don't know. This mine's kind of a mystery. So after I got back, of course, I go online and find the one and only picture I could come up with for this mine. So here's the tailing pile, the upper one, and the lower one down here. I was just standing right about there. And that open raise, I believe, is right on the other side of this building. You can't really see it. Right here, I believe, is the hoisting room for the shaft. If we go look at a map here, this might make a little more sense. So here we see the shaft and the lower tunnel and the upper tunnel. And I was kind of scratched my head on this for a minute trying to figure out what I was looking at, since right here and here, those are openings, usually a sign of a portal into an adit or tunnel. So I was kind of scratching my head of why did they have a shaft if it only went down to these tunnels. And the only conclusion I can come up with is this lower tunnel, you know, it's down at creek level, and most of these mills were gravity-fed mills, so there was no way to do a gravity-fed mill down that low. So I think they built a shaft just to raise the material up high enough to run it through their processing plant. It's the only thing I can come up with. And the other thing I found on this map is the raise to the surface right there. So that was the raise I was looking down earlier, which I thought was an air shaft maybe. Still might have been why they dug it, I don't know. Maybe they were following a vein up. The other thing that's interesting on this map, if you follow it back, on the other map I'll show you, this has a date on it. And then evidently after that date, they dug back this 400 feet looking for this other vein. And then they had a blowout, which the only thing I can come up with there was they did get to the vein, and it was so fractured that it just kept collapsing on them. So they dug back, hit this vein, and stopped. But all in all, I think there's probably maybe 3,000 feet of working altogether on this mine. And here, a little cleaned up version of this map that was drawn in 1939. If you look right there, so on December 3rd, 1909, this was the face. And then evidently at some point, I'm guessing in the 30s maybe, they dug this other part back 400 feet where they come to that blowout. If we go to Google Earth, here's that open raise right there. I believe the upper tunnel would have been right here. There's really no sign of it. I don't know if somebody dynamited that shut or what. I think the lower tunnel would have been right about here. And this is the tailing pile off that lower tunnel. And there's the cement foundation for the mill. The shaft would have been somewhere in this area. You know, I kind of like looking at this. It's kind of like putting a puzzle back together for me. Pretty enjoyable to try and figure out what in the world they were doing. If we go back and look at this, again, I think the shaft might have been right next to that cement. I'm not real sure, but this to me looks like a hoisting house. You can see the power lines running over the hill. So obviously by this point they had commercial power. And this map here kind of shows the layout of some of the tunnels. I think the tunnel I walked back in that had the two side tunnels off of it was right here. This is the lower tunnel, I believe. They called it tunnel number 4 on this map. It comes back, and then you can see somebody kind of hand drew in a couple lines here and the blowout. And that blowout's right on top of this north-south vein. They've got it labeled. So like I said earlier, a lot of times when you get around these veins, the rock is extremely altered and fractured. So they dig into them and they can just have collapse after collapse. So I imagine that's what the blowout means. So if we're back here on Google Earth, here's the Uncle Dan. Here's that tunnel I walked back in with the side tunnels. Then up here, way up here, right there is the gated adit right there. And just a reminder, on the 23rd, we're going to have a gold giveaway for these 2 little nuggets. I'll put a link in the upper corner here on how to sign up for that. Well, I think I'm done adventuring around Uncle Dan today. I wanted to thank you guys for subscribing, taking the time to watch these videos, giving us the thumbs up once in a while. Remember, gold giveaway, 1,600 subscribers. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We'll see you guys on the next one. Why did I park way up there? What is wrong with you, fat guy?